In the movie The Founder, which documents the founding and growth of the McDonald's Corporation, we have a very clear distinction between process-oriented leaders and outcome-oriented leaders. On the hand of process-oriented leaders, we have the original founders of McDonald's, Dick and Mac.
The fries.
What about them?
They're 5% too crisp.
And Dick and Mac are obsessed with quality and consistency. And everything has to be just right. Every detail matters. Everything has to be impeccable. Even the actual process, the flow of how they work in the kitchen and produce the burger is thought out in detail and planned and perfected, and it's always the same. So this high level of consistency, of quality of process and quality of outcome is everything to them. This is the most important thing to them. And for this reason, they've not been franchising their business, because they tried it a couple of times and it always failed, because the franchisees could never rise to this level of consistency and quality and perfectionism. On the other hand, we have Ray Kroc, who is much more outcome oriented. He is looking at this very successful burger joint and he's asking himself a very outcome-oriented question in the sense of, this is great, people like it, this is good, this is competitive, we need to have 1,000, 10,000s of them throughout the country. There's no reason not to. And Ray partners with Dick and Mac and convinces them to let him franchise McDonald's throughout the country. And while doing this, Ray is fully focused on the outcome. Whatever he needs to do to create as many franchises as possible, to grow the business as much as possible. And he's going to make compromise after compromise from the initial Dick and Mac standards in order to make this growth possible. He's going to make compromises in how the businesses are run. He's going to make compromises in the quality of the ingredients, for example, accepting fake ice cream instead of real ice cream. The only thing that matters to him is growth and business success, and how he achieves that is secondary. Now, Ray also cares about quality, but even quality to himself is a kind of outcome value. He doesn't care about quality because quality is valuable in itself as a kind of thing to aspire to just because it's good. He cares about quality because quality leads to customer satisfaction, which leads to business success. And this is one of the key differences between process-oriented leaders and outcome-oriented leaders. For process-oriented leaders, quality is the objective in itself. The quality of the product, the quality of the components, the quality of the working methodology. That is what we're trying to do. That is the end goal. That is the objective in itself, to do things the right way. For outcome-oriented leaders, frequently they also care about quality, but for them quality is just a means to an end. They need to have quality in order to be competitive, but what really matters for them is the end goal of growing the business, of breaking a new market, of outcompeting the competition, or whatever it may be. And the means tend to justify the ends. So you want your process-oriented leaders who are your technical experts, who are passionate about that thing, when you want to do something at a very, very high level of quality. Critical equipment like, I don't know, aerospace stuff, or it could include luxury equipment, or it could include whatever niche or market or business where you need to build something to the highest possible standards. The best people to do this kind of job are process-oriented leaders, because that's what they care about. The drawback of process-oriented leaders is that they can get to be too dogmatic, not pragmatic enough, intransigent. They can end up retreating in an ivory tower and clinging to their ideas of perfect quality while neglecting the realities of the world around them. Outcome-based leaders are the ultimate pragmatists. They are purely pragmatic and practical, and they have their eye on the target, and they don't take their eye off the target. They never lose focus, they never get distracted. Everything is a detail compared to hitting the target. So they are goal-oriented, they are focused on that goal, and they will achieve that goal no matter what. And they're absolutely great at delivering things, at getting things done. And this is an amazing skill. But the danger is that they can get so focused on the end goal, and they're so used to kind of overcoming all kinds of details and bulldozing over all kinds of small impediments, that sometimes they might get to be so tunnel visioned on the end goal that they will ignore issues which seem small to them, but actually they're not that small and they shouldn't be ignored. And one of the clearest examples of that is Boeing. And up until the 90s, Boeing was a very process-oriented company with a process-oriented leadership and culture. It was an engineering mindset, and the company paid most attention to how things are done the right way. And sometimes during the latter part of the 90s and the early 2000s, Boeing underwent a cultural change and a leadership change towards a more outcome-based leadership. And this new leadership was much more focused on how can we expand the markets, how can we sell more, how can we outcompete, how can we make more money, which to some degree is absolutely fair and normal in business, but they were so focused and tunnel visioned on this that they end up ignoring and brushing over too many process concerns, too many quality concerns that they shouldn't have brushed over, and they ended up with the major problems we're all aware of. Outcome-based leaders have this disregard for proper procedure, which to some degree can be very healthy because they have the energy and the determination, for example, to break through bureaucracy and simplify antiquated rules and just push things to the next level and get stuff done, which in many instances is a very positive thing, but they can take this too far. A classical example of a process-oriented leader is Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs was obsessed with every detail of their products, of Apple's products. Everything had to be exactly in a certain way, and everything had to be to a certain level of quality and to meet certain standards. He famously cried, like literally cried, when they had to launch the original iMac or something in 2000 and a little bit. And he wanted for that iMac to have one of those CD slots as they had back in the day where you just push in the CD, but they couldn't source that component in time, so they had to have a CD tray, one of the trays that comes out and you put the CD on it. And that enraged him to no end, and he literally went in a corner and cried, and that's how he was about every one of his products, obsessed with the way it should be done. The typical outcome-based leader would be Jack Welch, for example. And Jack Welch was the CEO of General Electric during the time when General Electric was the largest company in the world. And General Electric was a conglomerate. They had all kinds of businesses doing all kinds of things, from home appliances to aircraft engines and many others. And for Jack, not exactly what they did and how they did it really didn't matter at all. The only thing that mattered to him was the end goal, the bottom line, which for him was to grow the business, to grow the stock price above everything else, the shareholder value. And he sold businesses and reorganized businesses and bought businesses and offshore businesses, whatever he needed to do in order to achieve that objective, and with very few thoughts for how the actual product is done, which was completely secondary in importance to him. Now, I'm not saying that all outcome-oriented leaders are focused on money, although many of them do, because money is a very easily quantifiable outcome. But generally speaking, outcome-oriented leaders are focused on whatever their end goal is, to finish a product, to meet a deadline, to come out with something on the market, to whatever it is, they're focused on that, and whatever they need to do to get to that, it doesn't matter. Typical disclaimers: you're not one or the other. This is a continuum. And statistically speaking, most people are going to be towards the middle in a kind of bell-shaped curve. Extremes are going to be relatively rare. And two, obviously, it's not like one is good and one is bad, but the important thing is for you to understand yourself and understand the situations in which you would be best suited so you can have the maximum possible impact.